Sarah and Emily were inseparable since childhood. They were the best of friends, and their bond was admired by everyone who knew them. They shared everything, from their deepest secrets to their dreams for the future. Sarah, 24, was the more outgoing and adventurous one, while Emily, 23, was quieter and more introspective. Together, they balanced each other perfectly. Life before the incident was filled with laughter, shared adventures, and mutual support. They spent their weekends exploring new cafes, binge-watching their favorite shows, and planning their future travels. Sarah was a budding graphic designer, full of creativity and ambition, while Emily was a writer, her head always full of stories and ideas. Their friendship was not without its challenges, of course. They had their disagreements, but they always managed to resolve them quickly. However, one particular incident would change everything. One evening, Sarah and Emily were at a party hosted by one of their mutual friends. It was supposed to be a night of fun, but things took a turn for the worse when Sarah, irritated by a small misunderstanding earlier that day, said something that cut Emily deeply. Sarah and Emily were standing near the snack table, chatting with a group of friends. The conversation shifted to their recent work projects, and Sarah, feeling a bit competitive and still holding on to her earlier frustration, made a cutting remark. "You know, Emily," Sarah said, trying to keep her tone light, but failing to hide the edge in her voice. "Sometimes I think you take on too much at work, because you're trying to prove something. Maybe you should just accept that some people are naturally better at handling stress." Emily blinked, taken aback by the unexpected jab. "What do you mean by that, Sarah?" she asked, her voice soft, but with a noticeable tremor. Sarah shrugged, still not fully grasping the impact of her words. "I just mean you always seem so frazzled. Maybe it's time to admit that not everyone can handle the pressure like some of us can." Emily's face flushed with a mix of embarrassment and anger. "That's not fair, Sarah. You know how hard I work. Just because I handle things differently doesn't mean I'm any less capable." The tension in the air was palpable, and their friends began to drift away, sensing the brewing conflict. Sarah crossed her arms, her irritation growing. "I'm just saying, Emily, maybe if you didn't stress so much, you'd get better results." Emily's eyes welled up with tears, but she held her ground. "I can't believe you'd say that to me. I thought you understood how much this job means to me, how hard I've worked to get where I am." Sarah rolled her eyes, regretting her words, but too stubborn to apologize. "Whatever, Emily. Maybe you just need to toughen up a bit." Emily turned away, unable to hold back her tears any longer. She quickly left the party, leaving Sarah standing alone, her own emotions a mix of regret and residual anger. The next day, Emily couldn't stop replaying the conversation in her mind. The words echoed painfully, and her anger began to bubble up. She couldn't believe Sarah, her best friend, had said something so hurtful. Determined to make Sarah understand the pain she caused, Emily devised a plan. Emily knew Sarah was coming over later that evening. She stood in her bathroom, staring at the bottle of hair remover cream. Her heart pounded as she unscrewed the cap and carefully poured it into Sarah's shampoo bottle. She hesitated for a moment, questioning her decision, but the memory of Sarah's words steeled her resolve. She quickly replaced the shampoo bottle, making sure everything looked normal. Later that evening, Sarah arrived at Emily's apartment, oblivious to the silent storm brewing between them. They chatted and watched a movie, but there was an underlying tension neither could ignore. After Sarah left, Emily couldn't sleep. She kept imagining Sarah's reaction the next morning. Her heart ached with guilt, but she pushed it aside, convincing herself that Sarah needed to learn a lesson. The next day, Emily's phone rang early in the morning. She saw Sarah's name on the screen and took a deep breath before answering. "Emily, something's wrong." Sarah's voice was frantic. "My hair, it's falling out. I used my shampoo this morning and now my hair is coming out in clumps." Emily forced herself to sound surprised. "Oh no, Sarah, that sounds awful. Are you sure it was the shampoo?" "I don't know what else it could be," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "I have a big presentation today. I can't go to work like this." Emily felt a pang of guilt but tried to stay calm. "Maybe you should see a doctor or a hair specialist. They might be able to help." Sarah ended the call, leaving Emily to grapple with her conflicting emotions. She wanted to rush to Sarah's side and help, but she knew she had crossed a line. Over the next few days, Sarah became increasingly withdrawn. She canceled their plans and avoided Emily's calls. Emily's guilt grew with each passing day, until she couldn't bear it any longer. Finally, Emily decided to come clean. She invited Sarah over, determined to confess and face the consequences of her actions. "Sarah, we need to talk," Emily said, her voice shaky as she opened the door to her apartment. Sarah looked at her, confusion and sadness etched on her face. "What's going on, Emily?" Emily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her confession bearing down on her. "I have to tell you something, and I hope you can forgive me. It was me. I put hair remover in your shampoo." Sarah's eyes widened in shock. "You did what? Why would you do that to me?" Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I was so hurt by what you said at the party. I wanted you to understand how much your words affected me." Sarah's expression softened as she realized the impact of her words. "Emily, I never meant to hurt you. I was frustrated and took it out on you. I'm so sorry." Emily nodded, trying to hold back her tears. "I know, and I believe you. But those words stuck with me, and I felt like I needed to make you understand the pain you caused." Sarah looked at her, eyes wide with confusion and concern. "But putting hair remover in my shampoo? That's extreme, Emily. Why would you go that far?" Sarah's Emily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her actions. "I thought about it a lot. I wanted to do something that would make you feel as vulnerable and hurt as I did. I even considered shaving your hair while you slept, but I couldn't bring myself to do it." Sarah was silent for a moment, processing Emily's confession. "You thought about shaving my hair?" Emily nodded, her voice trembling. "Yes, but I didn't do it. I knew it would be crossing a line, but I wanted you to understand my pain. So I chose the shampoo instead." Sarah's expression hardened slightly as she absorbed Emily's words. "I can't believe you even considered that. It's not just extreme, it's cruel. I thought we were better than this." Emily looked down, shame washing over her. "I know it was wrong. I just felt so hurt and angry. I didn't know how else to make you see how much your words affected me." Sarah sighed, rubbing her temples. "Emily, what you did was serious. You can't just mess with someone's hair like that. It's not just about the hair. It's about trust and respect." Emily's heart pounded as she listened to Sarah. She felt the weight of her actions more than ever. "I know, Sarah, and I'm truly sorry. I don't know what else to say." The tension between them was palpable, but they both knew the conversation had to continue. Despite their conversation, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of wanting to make Sarah feel the same vulnerability she had felt. The idea of shaving Sarah's hair became an obsession. Emily began to plan meticulously, wanting to ensure that if she did it, Sarah would not see it coming. Emily knew Sarah always took a nap after their weekend yoga class. She decided this would be the perfect time to execute her plan. She purchased a set of electric clippers and tested them out on her own hair to ensure they worked smoothly. Her guilt was overshadowed by a twisted sense of satisfaction as she prepared. Saturday arrived, and Emily went to Sarah's apartment for their usual yoga session. They chatted amiably, but Emily's heart was racing, knowing what she was about to do. After their session, Sarah, as expected, decided to take a nap. "Do you mind if I stay for a bit? I could use some rest too," Emily asked. Sarah smiled, oblivious to Emily's intentions. "Of course, Emily. Make yourself at home." As Sarah dozed off, Emily waited until she was sure Sarah was in a deep sleep. She retrieved the clippers from her bag and approached Sarah cautiously. Her hands trembled as she turned on the clippers, the sound filling the silent room. She hesitated for a moment, staring at Sarah's peaceful face. But the memory of Sarah's hurtful words pushed her forward. Emily gently placed Sarah's head in a position that would allow her to start shaving from the back. She began to carefully run the clippers through Sarah's hair, watching as chunks of hair fell to the floor. The process took longer than she expected. She was meticulous, ensuring that every strand was shaved off. When she was done, she looked at Sarah's bald head, a mix of satisfaction and guilt flooding her emotions. Sarah stirred, waking up slowly. She reached up to rub her head and froze as she felt the smooth skin instead of her usual hair. Her eyes flew open, and she looked at Emily in horror. "What did you do?" Sarah's voice was filled with shock and disbelief. Emily stepped back, the clippers still in her hand. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I just wanted you to understand how much you hurt me." Sarah's hands trembled as she touched her bald head. "Emily, this is beyond words. You shaved my head while I was sleeping. How could you do this to me?" Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I was so angry, Sarah. I felt like I needed to make you feel as vulnerable as I did." Sarah stood up, her face a mix of fury and betrayal. "Get out, Emily. I can't even look at you right now." Emily grabbed her things and left, her heart heavy with regret. She knew she had gone too far, and that it would take a miracle to salvage their friendship.